Hey, you're listening to the Deathscography podcast. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jeremy.
And this is episode 13.
What?
It's been a while. Hey, it's been... It started from the bottom. Then we took some time off.
We took some time off because things went below the bottom for a little while.
So,
I mean, they're still there.
So for all you guys who are constant listeners, you may have noticed that we have been missing for a week. Was it a week that we took off?
A week and a half, maybe.
Week and a half. We took some time off because of the murder of George Floyd and the subsequent protests around the country. And we, being two white guys, decided that it just probably wasn't the best to put out our dumb podcast about music.
Give some space for others to talk.
Yeah, there's more important things to be said. And
exactly.
We were, if you are listening to this directly after the last episode that we put out, you will remember that we said there was going to be a special guest on this episode due to the situations happening in major cities across the United States over the past 2 weeks, 10 days. Our guest is not able to record for this podcast. We will have him on later.
Definitely.
In the rotation when another record comes up that they want to get on.
Yeah, they were very excited.
I don't know if we're supposed to say their name or not. That's why I keep going around.
We'll just keep it a mystery, but they were very excited for this.
Yeah.
Record, and we waited as long as we could, but we just felt that we'll be able to get him on for another one.
Right. Right. And as far as like, it's been enough time, now we'll just go back to normal. Like, we don't want anyone to think that that's what we're saying, because it's not what we're fucking saying.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
I mean, just, 2 days ago, like Friday night, a guy was murdered in Atlanta, in my state, your home state where you came from.
Yep. I lived in Atlanta for a long time.
Yep. He was shot in the back while running away from police. He was a person of color. And this is, even with all the protests and all the steps that people are taking and, supposedly people in power are taking to, make change, like, this is still the everyday. Like, my personal thing has been like, I don't want people to be like, we did it. Because still happening.
I mean, a lot of people are saying that in the sense of, they did arrest the cops who killed him and
killed George Floyd.
Killed George Floyd. I'm sorry. But that's far away. Like, even in that case, like who knows what the chances are that them actually getting convicted.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, we're not anywhere close to being done.
One of those dudes, they let one of those dudes out of jail on bail because someone raised $750,000 for his bail. So he's like out of prison or out of jail.
Yeah,
it's a lot, man.
That's so, we just Jeff was just saying, this is we're not trying to pretend like anything's back to normal. We just felt like maybe we could, after giving room for others to speak who had voices more important than ours, maybe we could use our platform, however small it may be, to put this out there. This podcast, both myself and Jeff, strongly support these protests and strongly support the Black Lives Matter movement.
Absolutely.
And it is something that's, very important to us, and we just wanted to, talk about it here and talk about it in a public space. We've both been publicly. I mean, I've been to a couple of the protests here in town in Gainesville.
Yep.
And Gainesville has a interesting relationship with our police. Like, there were police at the protest, but nothing happened. And there's not been a lot of violence here, but it doesn't mean that there's not violence other places. I just live in a place that has that privilege, and but people are still protesting and letting their voices be heard about that stuff. And I don't know, it's hard to put into words how proud I am of the people who are protesting, who are out on the front lines, who are demanding these actions be taken, like defunding the police and all this stuff. And you know, they're getting arrested, or they're getting hurt, or they're getting shot, or they're getting whatever, and murdered. Yeah. And you know, I'm doing what I can. I'm trying. I'm still out of work because of quarantine and stuff. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and these people are still out there risking their lives just for this stuff. And you know, I'm putting my money where I can. I'm working on a couple projects to help raise stuff. Not trying to make this about me, but it's just like, if everyone can do this and everyone can do what they can, I'm just trying to help support the protesters where I can. Yep. And
that's the thing. Like the protesting as a, like, the act of protest on a grand scale is not a one lane road. There are people who are organizing things. There are people who are on the front lines. There are people who are supplying that front line with water and sunscreen. There are people who are, you know, putting signs together. There are people who are dropping sign making materials off. There are people who are bailing people out when they get arrested. And I would say that, like, I agree with you. Like, if everybody does what you can do what you can do. You have to take care of yourself, obviously, but do what you can do. It's important. Like, this is a turning point in the history of the United States.
It's the biggest civil rights movement in
the history of the world.
Yeah.
Like, it's
all 50 states. There's been protests in every state.
Yep.
There's protests all around the world.
Yep.
It's crazy.
But I would just say, if you want to support our podcast, if you want to donate money to us, don't do that. Please donate to bail funds. Please donate to Black Lives Matter movements. We'll put some links in the description of this episode to help facilitate you getting to those if you don't know where to go. If you don't know where to go, just fucking Google it.
Just Google it. But I mean, we'll help out if we can.
Absolutely. But so that being said, if you're out there and you're protesting, or you're someone who's affected by systemic racism every day, like, I fucking love you. Jeremy fucking loves you. We support you. And, you know, we're here doing what we can do.
Absolutely. And so now comes the point where we have to
all right,
talk about a fucking hardcore record.
Now then, for something completely different.
Yeah. And again, last thing I'll say is, like, we're not trying to pretend like this is going back to normal. In fact, as long as this stuff is happening, we'll talk about it on every episode. But
even when it stops happening, like, because like, that's what's already, like, okay, we're not ready to talk about the hardcore record yet.
Okay, all right. Here we go.
Let's get into this. It's already happening. I see it happening already. People, like, first off, the news cycle is stopping discussing protests and the murders of people of color. They're already, like, cutting it out because, like, it's old news. Also, the white backlash is happening where it's like, I'm just so tired of hearing about it.
I just don't want to hear about it anymore.
Right. And fuck that. So that's the number one thing that you can do. Don't stop talking about it.
Exactly. Like, and we don't plan on doing it.
No.
So.
All right.
Okay.
This record is by a band called Some Girls.
It's called The Rains, and it's an EP, and I like it. I love it. I want some more of it.
More of it. You try so hard, you can't get enough. I don't know what it is about that. Wait. The line is, don't know what it is about that little gals. Okay. Don't know what it is about Some Girls. The Rains EP.
Got him.
All right.
Dude, got it. We're back on.
Yep.
We're back. We're here.
Yep. All right.
Fuck. So
is this Some Girls' first record, or?
Yes.
So this is the seminal original.
Yeah.
EP.
I think from what I found is originally it was kind of recorded as a demo. And then Deathwish heard the demo and loved it so much that they offered to essentially like they wanted to put it out, but it just needed they offered to throw some money into getting it like kind of mixed properly.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So like this is essentially just a better sounding version of their demo. But the band basically formed. So the vocalist, his name is Wes, and he is in some bands like American Nightmare and Cold yeah, and Cold Cave.
Oh, I thought you said I thought you just said Cold Chamber, and I was
Cold
like,
Cave.
what?
Cold Cave, a little bit of a different band. And him and
I'm less
Rob,
interested.
Him and Rob Morin, who was in Unbroken and Narrows, they basically just decided to start a band that would, quote, fuck people up.
Was Wes also in American Nothing or only American Nightmare?
I mean, they're the same band.
Yes, but was he in it during American Nothing?
Yes, I think he was also in it when it was A-In.
Okay.
And Give Up the Ghost. I think he's just been the vocalist for the whole time.
Oh, he's the singer. All right.
Yeah. Gotcha. So they were just like, we want to make this band. Now that is an interesting thing because they didn't live anywhere near each other.
Okay.
They lived on basically, I think Rob lived in California, Wes lived on the East Coast. But Rob recruited drummer Sal Gallegos and then recorded the music and then shipped those songs to Boston where Wes recorded the vocals.
But it's like physical reels, right?
Yeah, I mean, because it was back in the day.
Yeah, they shipped it was like tape.
Yeah, basically because Sal, the drummer, owned 2 miles till something. I wrote it down and I don't know how to pronounce it. So basically, he owned a record studio or a recording studio, and so from what I could find, he recorded everything, and they just like fucking banged it out. They were just like, fucking 2 days, write this record, get Wes to fucking sing on it, and boom, there's a band, and that's how Some Girls was formed.
And it'll fuck people up.
You might have noticed that we didn't talk about a bass player because so on the recording, Rob recorded both guitar and bass, and they originally had this idea was once they started playing like live shows, they had this idea that they wanted to get a different bass player for every show.
Oh. All right.
Like that's a lot.
Yeah.
So
playing a lot of shows, I take it.
Yeah, I mean, they live on opposite coasts. It's kind of this quote super group.
Right.
But so what they did is they actually just got in touch with someone you probably have heard of, Jeff, Justin Pearson.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him? Don't know who The Locust is. Don't know who Dead Cross is.
Don't know who Holy Molar is.
Swing Kids.
No, don't know any of those bands.
So they got in touch with him, and after a show or two, they just asked him to join. They were like, fuck that weird.
I feel like
we're gonna have every bass player.
I feel like there was a rockabilly band that did that. It's a band called. There was a band. They don't exist anymore. They were called the Living Deads. And every tour that they went on, they had it was a drummer and an upright bass player who were a couple. And then every tour they went on, they had a different guitar player. And the premise was that they kidnapped the guitar player. Like that was their thing. Like they would kidnap this new guitar player and, at the end of the tour, they'd kill him or whatever. And like they'd snatch a new guitar player for the next tour, which, is a stick.
That's a thing.
What I'm trying to say is Some Girls ripped off that band.
Obviously.
Deathwish, you'll hear from their lawyers.
We know people.
All right, listen. Told on you.
Once this is out there, it's just out there.
Yeah, you can't ever take it down.
Can't take it back.
Oh,
nope.
Can we talk about something else also? So my cousin.
Your cousin.
Married by marriage.
Cousin by marriage.
Yes.
Does that work?
Well, he's married to my cousin. So he's like her husband. Was the the fire chief of Moultrie, Georgia.
Okay.
And he posted a racist meme
very fun.
On Facebook.
Jesus Christ.
And then he quickly took it down and apologized. But fuck that. He wasn't sorry for what he said. He was sorry that he got in trouble.
That he got caught.
And then he resigned. And I'm pretty sure it was like hey, you can resign or we can fire you.
Yeah,
anyway, that being said, that, like you said, once it's out there, it's out there. And I think that that's a good thing because it allows us to take care of people like that and get them out of places of power. I feel like it's important for people who are related to those people to not turn a blind eye to it, and just not say anything because they don't want to cause problems. So, yeah, fuck that guy.
I was gonna say, so you're talking about it publicly on a podcast. So here we go.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Fuck that guy.
Yeah. Well, sorry, speaking Mom. Speaking of,
I'm not sorry.
I don't know. I don't know how to transition into this.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of people
changes, speaking of changes, here we are in the months that followed after they asked Justin Pearson to join. They also added the band Some Girls added a second guitar player named Christopher Sprague, and they recorded another EP.
Sprague.
Called The Blues, and that was also released on Deathwish, so that we will be talking about later, and maybe we'll
hopefully with our special guest.
Exactly. Hopefully we'll get the special guest who was supposed to be on this episode on that episode.
Yeah.
And then they ended up like I
don't know, it's some girl.
They ended up putting both of those EPs together on a compilation called All My Friends Are Going Deaf.
Yeah, which is where I listened to this on Spotify.
Yeah, because you can't find the actual just EPs by themselves.
Right.
But I did put together a playlist on Spotify of just these 5 songs from the EP, which I will link in the episode comments so that you can know specifically about what songs are on this record.
Right.
And then just to keep going, the band was relatively short lived. Not like 2 years or anything, but so. After a while, both of the guitar players, the original guy, Rob Moran, and then also the guy who joined right before that EP, they both left the band before they recorded their first LP. So, which I didn't know that. I thought it was, at least the same guitar player.
Yeah.
But like both of them left. They ended up recording that EP, and that EP or that LP ended up it's called Heaven's Pregnant Teens. They ended up signing to Epitaph.
Right. So
this band got real big.
So this is where I came into contact with Some Girls for the first time. I was working as the program manager for
in Tifton?
For a radio station in Tifton, a college radio station, WPLH, ABAC radio. And this was when you would still get promo CDs in the mail, and they were trying to get radio stations to play. That's how you got traction. Radio station DJs would decide to play your music, and then if enough were playing it, then that meant something. And you were like charting. You were charting in like the CMJ, the College Music Journal, and stuff.
Yeah. I also was a radio DJ for a little while at Valdosta State, WVVS.
Oh, but I got a CD promo copy of Heaven's Pregnant Teens, and it has a pregnant nun on the front of it, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it does.
And she's like, her eyes are gouged out, and she's like a cigarette in her mouth. And I was like, what the fuck is this? This is so cool. And I put it in, and I was like, fucking cool. Noise. Just noise.
Not for me.
But
cut to 10 years later.
Of course it grew on me.
Right.
But this is like 2006 or something.
Yeah.
So but yeah, so that was when I found out about him. So it was like after these EPs had happened.
Yeah, I definitely had never heard of him until that LP, and I think a big thing. It was on Epitaph,
right? They had the money to send CDs to a million radio stations.
Exactly. I think I probably saw it on like a compilation of some sort, and I was like, and I never really paid attention to them because I wasn't super into this style of hardcore back then. But as I got into it, I definitely found them, and then having Justin Pearson in the band was definitely a big thing too. But yeah, so they put that record out on Epitaph. And then they ended up breaking up in 2007.
Which is so crazy because that means that Some Girls hasn't been a band for 13 years.
That's
which
really
is so
wild.
crazy to me. Like, it's just...
Yeah, I feel like they broke up a couple years ago, but it's like...
Time isn't real,
so
man.
long ago. And I thought this was really funny. It was officially announced on Punk News. Do you remember? I mean, it's still a site. Like, Punk News is still a thing. But yeah, it was like that was where their announcement came out.
Yeah.
Which I think was, 2007. I was on Punk News a lot.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And then Deathwish later confirmed it with a statement that was basically like, word from various members that they've officially and quietly put the band to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it. Like they, the band did a bunch of touring with like Daughters and the Locust, which is, Justin Pearson's other band, and then also Converge and stuff like that. And so even though they were a short-lived, relatively, they did a lot. And I think that has to do with who was in the band. Not that they're not good, but there's so many good bands.
They were also like heavily already connected.
Exactly. So, pretty short-lived band, but put out at least this EP. I've really enjoyed.
It's real good.
It's real short. It's 5 minutes long.
5 minutes long.
5 songs, 5 minutes. And it's short, simple, fast, hardcore. Mm-hmm. It's mostly just like riff with no real repetition, and it's just like, but that to me, at least with the length, it keeps the songs interesting because it's like, if you're repeating stuff in a 1 minute long song, that's boring. You know what I mean? Like you could cram in 5 riffs in a 1 minute long song and it's like, all right.
Yep.
But I honestly, it just made me, it was like a tease. Like, I just want to hear more of this band. And I'm trying so hard to not listen to more, even though like these songs are on that compilation with those other songs. And it's like, nope, only listen to these 5. Don't listen to any more. But I am excited about the next EP whenever we get to it, because it does seem to be basically this same core group of members, but then they added Justin Pearson. He was officially writing with them on the next record.
Right, on the next EP.
On the next one, on this one it was just the 3 people,
right?
Rob, Sal, and Wes. But on the next one is when Justin officially started writing with them. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, man, I think it's a really fun record. It's really short and really fast. It does some cool power violence-y moments, but then there's also some like just regular hardcore moments. I think the vocals sound good. I think it does sound like a better mixed demo.
Right. I think,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that's fine because, like the power violence overtones, like a lot of that stuff, power violence, grindcore overtone stuff isn't mixed great. And that's fine.
Oh yeah, no, it's not a detriment that it sounds the way it sounds. I'm interested to see if the next record sounds if they
more
become produced.
Yeah, if they become more produced is what I was going to say.
Exactly, because you don't put a record out on Epitaph sounding like this. So
right,
I'm expecting it to go up in production value, but I don't know necessarily if that will be a good thing. Right.
Yeah, I think that if you're into super raw, fast, short, simple, you should check it out. You'll like it. I mean, if you don't like it, I mean, it only took 5 minutes to listen to, so
yeah, you'll I mean, the length of like one normal song and a half is you'll get through the whole record.
Yep.
But yeah, so I think we talked about it on the last episode. It's been so long I can barely remember, where I was mentioning how hard it is to find like artwork credits and production credits on stuff.
Yep.
Once again, this is another record that like it just doesn't really exist on the internet. I had to, kind of use context clues to figure out that the drummer probably recorded the demo, but that's never officially
said anywhere.
And then the artwork, same deal. There's no credits for it. I can't find it. I looked on scans of the original 7-inch. And so the artwork here, if you can see it, Jeff, it's just couple.
Yeah,
or I don't know if they're a couple.
I've seen it.
It's the 2 people kissing, and it's just a picture of them.
Well,
and
they're not just kissing.
Well, they're he's doing a little bit more. But yeah, they're just, it's pretty simple, and like, and then on the back is the same deal.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Well,
not because of them being involved in what, like making out or whatever. It's just like almost like a voyeur-y picture, like looking at them, someone's watching them. And I don't know. I actually thought about this artwork a lot, like just like looking at it. And I was like, not that like, I feel like I shouldn't see this art. Like it just legit gives me like an feeling. Like they're not aware of the person that is I don't know. I thought about it a lot. They're not aware of the person that is watching them, which they may be, but in my head canon, like they're not. And
it's made to look like they're not, for sure.
Yeah, like, and that made me think about like the Zodiac Killer. And like,
Jesus Christ.
Like I was like, this is the first scene in like a slasher flick where they're like at Lover's Lane, they're in Dad's car, and like
yeah, and then the picture on the back,
they're just sinning.
They're just sinning, like that's it right there. But yeah, I mean, so
what's the picture on the back? I don't have a picture on the back.
So the picture on the back, you can look in the Google Doc. It's another picture of a couple kissing with a little bit more with a hand going somewhere. It's the same deal, honestly, same feeling. It kind of feels like maybe some dude.
Well, this one is like her hand is on his crotch, and in the front one, his hand is in her crotch.
So they're a little bit different in that way, but it's still that same like maybe someone walked up on them and snapped the photo. Not that I think that happened, but it's made to look like it happened.
I think that this is the picture of a vampire attack on the back.
Okay. All right.
She is biting him on the neck while massaging his belly button.
Yeah, no, well, honestly, he doesn't even look like he has a head.
No.
So I think that she has completely consumed his entire head.
His head is in her mouth.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yes.
And she's using his crotch as leverage.
Yes. That's how vampires don't get caught. They just eat the whole person.
They eat the whole person.
Yeah, quote,
yeah, I mean,
bones and all. That's a Sandlot reference.
I don't know who did the art. I think it's cool looking, and it definitely, obviously, it affected you in a way that it didn't me, but like that's cool. Yeah. I think it looks cool, and I would love to. I tried to find a copy of the 7-inch. I'll probably end up getting one because it is. I like the record.
Did you you notice that the Deathwish logo is different again?
Yeah, well, at least this time it fits with the font of the like track listing.
Yeah.
It just says Deathwish in like a very simple like typewriter font.
Yeah, but it's weird that
it is weird.
Like, their branding isn't on it.
Technically, this is a third Deathwish logo that we've now seen in 13 releases.
Yes.
So, I mean, come on, Deathwish, get your act together.
We should make that meme where it's the Tool guys, like the not a lot crazy going on. A little more crazy going on. Or like the Vince McMahon one where
one's very where he's just like freaking out.
Yeah.
All right, we'll try to make that be.
Yeah. All right.
The record's short, it's a short fucking fast hardcore record that's good.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of ferocity and it's catchy, but not in a pop sort of way, just like in a hardcore sort of way.
That's right.
And I really enjoyed it. I'm really excited to listen to more from this band.
Yes.
All right. Well, so it's, it's been a while since we talked last, Jeff, and I have listened to a lot of stuff because I've been very in a weird headspace with everything going on. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to throw out a couple things. First thing, I've been listening to the first Code Orange Kids LP a bunch.
All right.
Love is Love, Return to Dust. I got into this weird conversation with some bandmates from my other band, Sports Preference, and I mentioned how Code Orange is, first off, they're now called Code Orange, and how I mentioned that their new record, they should have just shortened their name once again to Code.
Right.
Because it's a new metal record.
Right.
And Code would fit.
Right, for sure.
Oh, they're opening up for Slipknot. It's Code. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so.
Code on tour with Cold.
Exactly. And so like they didn't really understand what I meant by that. So we started listening or watching the music videos for the new record. Man, it is something.
Yep. Looks like, I mean, they have finally ascended to where a band on Roadrunner Records should be.
Yeah, and that's what they want, and that's very clear.
Yeah,
that this is like what they want, and so good for them.
Yeah, I'm all
getting
for
what they want.
I don't want to listen to it.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
And and not to spoil anything, but this Code Orange Kids, the first record was put out by Deathwish, so we'll talk about that way down the road. But I just, after that whole conversation and watching those new music, I was like, I gotta fucking remind myself why I like this band. And I went back. And to be honest, it's a separate band. It's even on Spotify. They have two separate profiles. You have Code Orange and you have Code Orange Kids. And the Code Orange Kid profile has their split with like Full of Hell and their EP and shit. But Code Orange has the full lengths that they've been putting out for the past couple of years.
Isn't that crazy that they consider it separate bands?
I mean, like I said, they should have just changed. This new one should have been just Code.
Right.
But like, I think I've told you this before. This actually their third name change, because they were originally the Code Orange Kids.
Yes.
And they were like, there's a demo out there of them being like a ska core band.
Yep.
It's really weird. Anyways, I've also been listening to the new Zabalba album, Años in Inferno, which is really good. It's on Son of the Lord.
Yeah.
We got to play with Zabalba forever ago.
Yeah, we hit one of their members with our van.
We did. It was definitely not. We didn't mean to.
Zabalba,
but they meant to.
Zabalba directed us while backing our van up into running into another member of Zabalba.
It was very funny.
Yeah,
and then was it the vocalist who we caught in the back doing push-ups, wearing a hoodie, smoking, just like raging out.
He had like those push-up handle things, and he was wearing a Zabalba hoodie with the hood up, huge joint in mouth, just fucking pumping out push-ups in the green room. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, you are all that is man.
It was a lot. I mean, that band is very powerful, and so there it is. But yeah, that new record's really good. And then the last record I've been really enjoying is the band Thou, who is another Deathwish band we will talk about later on. They put out a record or two out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 years ago. They put out a whole cover album called Blessings of the Highest Order, and it's all Nirvana songs.
What?
But it's not an album by Nirvana. It's a bunch of different Nirvana songs that they essentially over the years have covered enough Nirvana songs on different releases to have an album's worth of Nirvana songs.
Right.
So they just put them all together and put it out. And I hadn't heard some of them, and that band is great, and it's really fun. It's really fun to hear those songs in like a weird ass fucking heavy way, even though Nirvana's, whatever. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, not music related, well, at least not an album. I've been listening to the No Time Records podcast.
Oh yeah.
They started a podcast. I think they're 3 episodes in as of this recording.
Oh, shout out.
Yeah. And check it out. It's on Spotify. It's how I found it.
What do they talk about?
Well, the first episode, they kind of just talked about like what the label was and who they were and blah, blah, blah. But the second episode, they went through, I don't know, maybe 20 of their quote, like 20 high, releases that they wanted to highlight.
Okay.
Or felt that they were highlights of their label. Yeah. So they talked about like the first record, and then they talked about this record they did with Livid. And then they talked about this record that they did with Days and Days, which is like a huge shit. So they talked about like highlights from their label and stuff they wanted, and it was really good. It was really cool to hear because they've existed for like
5 years
and have 200 releases or some ridiculous shit, mostly cassettes, because they're basically a cassette label, and it's like and they just fucking put out 1,000 releases a year. And
yeah, we actually got to play their 5-year anniversary last year. That was the show that we played for No Time.
And then they put out a tape for our band Machinist.
That's right.
Which you could buy on their website right now.
It's called Live at the Atlantic.
Yeah, it was recorded at the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Which you would not know that if you just looked at the cover. No. It's just a cool photo.
Yeah. There are hot take tracks on there about cassettes and also about a venue in Orlando that I will not name. You'll have to buy the tape.
You'll have to just buy the tape to hear it, you know? But yeah, so that's mostly what I've been listening to.
Sick. I've been listening to that new Run the Jewels record for sure.
Oh yeah.
4. I think it's Run the Jewels 4, RTJ 4. It's good, but yeah, that's
for sure.
A lot of hip hop. Yeah, that's what I've been listening to.
Cool. All right. Well, next episode, we will be talking about the band is called Horror Show, and it's called, the record is.
Excuse me. It's called what?
Horror
Show. All right.
Sorry, I gotta get that second syllable in there.
What?
Horror Show.
Okay.
Our Design is the EP name.
Is it?
I've never heard of this at all.
A horror punk band?
Place your predictions now. I'm gonna say
I'm
no.
gonna say horror punk show tunes.
All right.
I'm going to be let down.
I'm gonna. I know I'm gonna be let down, but I know that's what I want it to be. Yes. And you got to put what you want out in the world.
That's right. This is the secret.
This is the secret. Anyways, all right. Well, you can find.
What's a good show tune? What's a popular show tune?
I don't know.
Pennies from heaven. Pennies from heaven. Pennies from heaven. Dracula was real.
That just sounded like that dude from Go Radio or whatever. Pennies from heaven.
Scale the chain link fence. Everybody was like, what the fuck was that? And then he made $1 bajillion. $1
bajillion. So much money. All right.
All right. Don't sue us, Jason Lancaster.
You can find the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at Deathscography Pod. You can find us on Twitter at Deathscography. You can email us at deathscographypod@gmail.com or go to deathscographypod.com. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Iron Raygun.
You can find me on Twitter at what's my Twitter handle?
Car Bomb Sermon.
At Car Bomb Sermon. And you can find me on Instagram at Despite Jeff. You can also check us out at Don't Sue Us, JasonLancaster.com. Also, you can vote for the Hope Conspiracy to play the fest.
Which is definitely happening. 100%.
Yeah, the fest is happening. Hope Conspiracy is playing.
Yeah, we're putting these things out there.
I hope that the cover of this album with the photo of the people on it isn't kind of like Say Cheese and Die or The Ring, where like once you look at it, the next time you're making out, you get looked at and murdered. I hope it's not like that.
It probably is. All right. Thanks for listening.